Have you ever wondered why some people can stand right in front of you, smile, speak kindly, and yet leave you with a feeling that something is not right? That quiet unease, that whisper inside your chest, is not random. It is your instinct warning you that behavior always tells a deeper truth than words. The most dangerous signs in people are rarely obvious. They do not always shout. They do not always reveal themselves in grand gestures. Instead, they live in the silent spaces, in the subtle patterns, in the way someone repeatedly chooses actions that betray who they really are. If you can learn to see these signals, you gain an invisible power, the power to protect yourself, the power to stay ahead, the power to never be blindsided by betrayal. Human psychology reveals something profound. Words are cheap, but patterns are priceless. People can tell you what they want you to believe, but the way they consistently behave shows what they actually are. Every little choice, how someone reacts to stress, how they speak about others when they are not around, how they treat those who cannot benefit them, creates a map of their true character. The danger lies in ignoring that map. Too many people get hurt, not because the signs were absent, but because they were ignored. Think back on moments in your life where you felt betrayed or disappointed. If you replay those memories carefully, you will often realize the signs were there all along, but you wanted to believe otherwise. This is why awareness is so powerful. When you sharpen your ability to notice hidden signals, you rise above illusions. You no longer get fooled by polished words or temporary acts of kindness. You begin to see the truth that others miss. And the reward of learning this awareness is priceless. You stop wasting your time on people who secretly drain your energy, and you start surrounding yourself with people who genuinely push you forward. Imagine how much stronger, more focused, and more unstoppable you would feel if you had no blind spots when it came to people. There is a deep psychological principle at play here. The consistency of behavior is the truest form of honesty. Someone can fake kindness once, but they cannot fake it forever. Someone can act humble for a moment, but their arrogance will eventually break through. The repetition of actions is what exposes them. If you want to stay alert to dangerous people, stop listening only to what they say and start paying attention to what they repeatedly do. It is in those repetitions where danger hides. The power of observation is like a shield. When you cultivate it, you no longer walk through life unaware, open to every hidden attack or subtle betrayal. You carry within you a quiet strength and invisible armor. People can try to deceive you, but their patterns will reveal them, and you will see what others cannot. This is not about becoming paranoid or distrusting everyone. It is about becoming wise. Wisdom means knowing where to invest your trust and where to protect your heart. Think of the people who radiate success, strength, and calm confidence. They are not careless with their attention. They watch. They listen. They notice. And because they notice, they are rarely caught off guard. They do not waste years in relationships that lead nowhere. They do not invest energy in those who secretly envy them. They move differently because they know how to read the signs. That is the reward waiting for you. A life where you can walk with clarity, peace, and confidence because you no longer allow hidden dangers to control you. But here is the truth that many ignore. Learning to see these signs requires courage. It requires you to accept that not everyone around you has pure intentions. It requires you to let go of wishful thinking and face reality as it is. The reason so many people suffer is because they choose comfort over clarity. They would rather lie to themselves about who someone is than confront the painful truth. But clarity, no matter how sharp it feels in the beginning, will always protect you in the long run. So ask yourself right now, are you willing to see? Are you willing to trust your instincts when they whisper that something feels off? Are you ready to stop making excuses for people's patterns and start holding them accountable to their actions? If the answer is yes, then you are already stepping into a higher level of awareness. You are already building a wall of protection around your peace and your purpose. This is why paying attention to hidden behavior is not just about avoiding danger. It is about unlocking freedom. The freedom to walk away sooner, the freedom to say no without guilt, the freedom to invest your time and energy only where it truly belongs. Once you gain this freedom, you stop playing small, you stop getting trapped in toxic cycles, and you start living from a place of strength. And that strength will carry you through every season of life, because the most dangerous signs in people will always be there. You cannot erase them, you cannot change them, and you cannot pretend they do not exist. But you can stay alert. You can sharpen your vision, and you can walk through life unshaken, unstoppable, and untouchable because you chose to see what others refuse to see. There is one sign that destroys more dreams, relationships, and futures than people realize. It creeps into conversations, it infects environments, and it slowly eats away at your belief in yourself. That sign is constant negativity. A negative person may not raise their hand against you, but their energy is just as destructive. Science has shown that the brain absorbs emotions like a sponge, and being around constant complaining and criticism rewires your own thoughts until you begin carrying the same poison within you. Negativity is contagious, and if you do not protect yourself, it becomes your silent prison. Think of what negativity does at its core. It steals possibility. It convinces you that nothing will work, that effort is useless, that dreams are unrealistic. A negative person is dangerous because they do not simply destroy their own opportunities. They drag down anyone close enough to listen. Their words plant doubt. Their attitude kills momentum, and their energy makes even the brightest days feel heavy. Spend enough time with them, and you start questioning your own path. You stop chasing big goals and start lowering yourself to fit their comfort zone of misery. That is how they win, by making you believe that progress is impossible. Negativity thrives on repetition. One complaint may seem harmless, but constant complaining shapes identity. When a person constantly sees the worst in every situation, it is no longer just an opinion. It becomes their reality. And when you are exposed to that reality again and again, it begins shaping yours. Psychology calls this emotional contagion, the phenomenon where your brain mirrors the emotions of those around you. That is why after speaking with someone who is always bitter, you feel drained, even if you had no reason to feel that way before. Their energy becomes yours unless you stand guard. The real danger lies in the fact that negativity disguises itself as honesty. A negative person will tell you they are just being realistic. But in truth, their so-called realism is just fear in disguise. They will mask doubt as wisdom and failure as proof. And if you accept their words as truth, you inherit their limitations. They are not warning you to protect you. They are warning you because they want you to live within the same cage that traps them. That is why this sign is so dangerous. It does not look like an attack, it looks like advice. If you want to protect your energy, you must learn to set boundaries with negativity. Not every voice deserves a place in your mind. Not every opinion deserves to take root in your heart. You cannot stop people from being negative, but you can stop them from shaping your destiny. Distance is power, silence is protection, and focus is freedom. Every moment you choose to ignore their poison and hold on to your vision, you weaken the grip negativity has on your future. Understand this, negative people rarely realize the destruction they cause. Their mindset has consumed them to the point where they believe darkness is the only reality. But just because they live in shadows does not mean you have to join them. Light and darkness cannot exist in the same space. When you choose light, darkness must fade. This is why your energy is your greatest weapon. When you guard it, nurture it, and protect it from constant negativity, you become unshakable. Greatness demands clarity, and clarity cannot survive in a polluted environment. You cannot build dreams in an atmosphere poisoned with constant doubt. You cannot grow in a soil filled with complaints. And you cannot rise if you are always carrying someone else's bitterness on your shoulders. That is why staying alert to this sign matters. Every negative voice you allow into your life is a chain around your progress. Break the chain and you rise faster. Break the chain and you breathe lighter. Break the chain and you discover the freedom to believe again. The reward for staying alert is more than just peace of mind, it is strength. When you separate yourself from negativity, your mind sharpens, your focus grows, and your confidence rises. You stop questioning your path and start trusting it. You stop shrinking to fit someone else's bitterness and start expanding to match your own potential. And the moment you taste that freedom, you will never allow negativity to control you again. But here is the hard truth. Removing negativity is not just about distancing yourself from others. It is about confronting the negativity inside yourself. Because the more you listen to negative people, the more their voice becomes your inner voice. Their doubt becomes your doubt. Their fear becomes your fear. To break free, you must silence those echoes and rebuild your inner dialogue. Every time your mind says, "It's impossible," replace it with, "What if it's possible?" Every time you hear, "You can't," fight back with, "Watch me." That is how you reclaim your power from negativity, both outside and within. The world is filled with people who will try to project their limitations onto you. But you are not here to live within their limits. You are here to rise, to push boundaries, to turn possibility into reality. And that is why you must protect yourself from the most dangerous sign of all, constant negativity. It does not look deadly at first, but it is the silent destroyer of dreams. Stay alert, protect your energy, and carry the light of belief no matter how much darkness surrounds you. Because once you decide to reject negativity, no force in the world can keep you from becoming everything you are meant to be. There is another sign that hides in silence, and it is one of the most dangerous forces you can encounter. It wears the mask of admiration, but underneath it carries resentment. It looks like support, but in truth it is envy. That sign is jealousy. Unlike open conflict, jealousy rarely announces itself. It sits quietly in the background, smiling at your success, but secretly hoping you fail. And the danger is not only in what it feels, it is in what it eventually does. Psychology shows that jealousy, when left unchecked, transforms into sabotage. What begins as silent comparison can end in deliberate destruction. Jealousy is not always loud. It does not always show itself in arguments or open hostility. It often reveals itself in subtle ways. The person who downplays your achievements, the friend who grows distant when you rise, the supporter who celebrates you in public but criticizes you in private. These are the cracks where true intentions bleed through. And if you do not stay alert, you will mistake jealousy for harmless emotion, when in reality, it is one of the most corrosive forces in human connection. The psychology of jealousy is rooted in insecurity. When someone sees you achieving what they have not, your success becomes a mirror reflecting their own lack. Instead of being inspired, they feel threatened. Instead of learning from you, they begin resenting you. And that resentment does not stay still. It grows. It pushes them to plant seeds of doubt in your mind, to subtly discourage you, to make you second-guess your own progress. They might never admit it, but their actions will tell the truth. That is why jealousy is so dangerous. It hides behind a smile but works like poison. Many people underestimate the power of this sign because it does not always feel like a direct attack. But what is more dangerous? A person who openly fights you, or a person who pretends to be on your side while quietly weakening your foundation? Open enemies you can see, hidden jealousy you cannot, and that hidden resentment is often more destructive than any visible conflict because you let your guard down in the presence of someone you thought you could trust. Jealousy is not only harmful to relationships, it is destructive to progress itself. If you allow a jealous person close enough, they will chip away at your confidence. They will remind you of your failures more than your wins. They will exaggerate your flaws and minimize your strengths. They will smile when you are in pain and act indifferent when you succeed. And slowly, if you are not careful, their jealousy becomes your hesitation. Their envy becomes your self-doubt. This is how many dreams die, not from lack of talent, but from letting the wrong energy shape belief. But here is the truth you must remember. Jealousy always reveals itself if you pay attention. It cannot stay hidden forever. Watch carefully. The jealous person cannot fully celebrate you. They cannot genuinely support your rise. Their words might say congratulations, but their tone carries hesitation. Their actions may look supportive, but their consistency always cracks. And once you see it, you must accept it for what it is. Stop excusing it, stop pretending it does not exist, and stop waiting for it to change. Because jealousy, left unhealed, rarely disappears. This is not about walking through life in suspicion of everyone. It is about choosing to stay awake. It is about recognizing that not every hand reaching for you is reaching to help. Some hands reach to pull you back down. And once you learn to see the difference, you protect yourself from the silent destroyers of progress. This awareness allows you to keep your vision pure, your circle clean, and your energy unshaken. The reward for staying alert to jealousy is freedom. Freedom from betrayal. Freedom from wasted trust. Freedom from the constant cycles of being lifted up and then torn down by people who never truly wanted to see you win. When you free yourself from jealous energy, you create space for genuine connections. You open the door for relationships built on inspiration instead of competition, encouragement instead of resentment, loyalty instead of hidden rivalry. And those relationships are the ones that will push you further than you could ever go alone. But there is also another lesson here. One that looks inward. Jealousy is not only something others feel, it can be something that grows inside of you if you are not careful. In the moment you allow yourself to live in comparison, you poison your own journey. If you catch yourself feeling envy, transform it. Let the success of others be proof that greatness is possible for you too. Let it fuel you instead of draining you. Jealousy destroys when it is hidden, but it empowers when it is transformed into motivation. The choice is always yours. Jealousy is one of the most dangerous signs because it disguises itself so well. But once you sharpen your awareness, once you see it for what it truly is, you take away its power. And when jealousy loses power over you, whether from others or from within, you rise with a strength that cannot be touched. Stay alert, protect your path, and never allow envy to sit in the same space as your vision. Because your future is too valuable to be dimmed by the shadows of those who cannot celebrate your light. One of the most destructive signs you can ever face in a person is manipulation. Unlike anger or open aggression, manipulation is quiet. It does not confront you directly. It bends you, twists you, and reshapes your reality until you no longer recognize yourself. A manipulator's power lies in subtlety. They do not force you to obey, they convince you to surrender. And that is what makes them so dangerous. You do not even realize the chains they've placed on you until you are already trapped. Manipulation works because it feeds on your emotions. It uses your compassion, your loyalty, your guilt, and even your love as weapons against you. Psychology calls this emotional control, and it is one of the oldest tactics of dominance. A manipulator knows that if they can control the way you feel, they can control the way you think. And if they can control the way you think, they can control the way you live. That is why people under manipulation often feel drained, confused, and powerless, because their freedom has been stolen in plain sight. The most dangerous part of manipulation is gaslighting. This tactic makes you doubt your own memory, your own perception, your own judgment. You start questioning whether what you saw was real, whether what you felt was valid, whether your instincts can be trusted. And once you no longer trust yourself, you are at the mercy of the manipulator. They become the authority of truth in your life, and you become dependent on them for clarity. That dependence is the cage, and most people do not even know they are locked inside it. A manipulator often presents themselves as caring, concerned, even protective. They will say they want the best for you, but their actions always serve their own interest. They twist kindness into control, turning every favor into leverage, every compliment into obligation. Slowly, you find yourself giving more than you receive, apologizing for things that are not your fault, and sacrificing your peace to keep them satisfied. That is the hallmark of manipulation. You keep losing pieces of yourself without even realizing how much has been taken. If you want to protect yourself from this danger, you must learn the power of boundaries. A manipulator thrives where boundaries are weak. They test limits, they push small lines, and once you give in, they take more. But when you stand firm, when you say no with clarity and without apology, their power weakens. They cannot control someone who refuses to be controlled. They cannot twist the mind of someone who trusts their own judgment. Your strength against manipulation is not anger, it is awareness and firmness. The truth is, manipulation destroys not only your freedom but also your confidence. It convinces you that you cannot stand on your own, that you need their approval, their validation, their presence to survive. But that is the lie. The reality is that your power increases the moment you reclaim your voice. Every time you trust your instincts instead of their twisted version of reality, you grow stronger. Every time you choose clarity over confusion, you build resilience. And every time you walk away from manipulation, you prove to yourself that no one holds the key to your life except you. Many people stay trapped in manipulative relationships, whether in family, friendships, or love, because they fear the cost of breaking free. They think they will lose too much if they walk away. But what they do not realize is that the real loss is staying. The real loss is sacrificing years of peace, energy, and opportunity just to maintain a false connection. Manipulation always takes more than it gives, and the longer you stay, the more pieces of yourself you allow to be stolen. The price of freedom may feel heavy at first, but the weight of manipulation will always crush you in the end. The reward for staying alert to manipulation is strength beyond measure. When you can see through the tactics, when you can recognize the guilt traps, the twisted words, the false kindness, you rise above the game. You stop being a pawn, and you become a master of your own life. You carry within you a confidence that no one can shake, because you know that truth does not need to be twisted and love does not need to be forced. Genuine people do not need to manipulate, because they give freely. Once you realize this, manipulation loses all of its power. There is a freedom that comes with this awareness. The freedom to trust yourself again. the freedom to speak without fear, the freedom to live without constantly walking on eggshells. And that freedom is worth protecting at all costs. Because when you break free from manipulation, you do not just escape another person's control. You step fully into your own life. You begin to live with clarity, with certainty, and with a strength that cannot be touched. The most dangerous sign is not always the loudest or the most obvious. Sometimes it is the quiet twisting of your reality until you are no longer sure who you are. But the moment you see it, the moment you call it what it is, you break its hold. Stay alert, protect your boundaries, and remember this truth: no one has the right to control your mind, your choices, or your life. The power belongs to you, and once you claim it, manipulation can never steal it again. There is one sign that reveals more about a person's true character than almost anything else, and it is often the hardest to accept because it hides beneath pride. That sign is the refusal to take accountability. A person who cannot own their actions, who cannot admit when they are wrong, who constantly shifts blame onto others, is not just difficult. They are dangerous. Because when accountability is absent, truth is absent. And without truth, trust collapses. Think about what accountability really means. It is not weakness. It is strength. It takes courage to say, I was wrong. It takes humility to say, I made a mistake and I will do better. That kind of honesty builds trust, deepens respect, and creates growth. But when someone refuses accountability, they choose the opposite path. They protect their ego at the expense of everything else. They would rather sacrifice your peace than admit their fault. And that choice tells you everything you need to know about where their loyalty truly lies. Psychology reveals that people who lack accountability live in a state of self-deception. They rewrite reality in their own mind, so they never have to feel the discomfort of being wrong. Instead of learning from mistakes, they run from them. Instead of growing, they remain stuck in the same destructive patterns. And when you are close to someone like this, their refusal to face truth does not only affect them, it affects you. Because every time they shift blame, they place the weight of their actions on your shoulders. You end up carrying responsibility for problems you did not create. The danger of this sign is not only the chaos it causes in the moment, but the long-term damage it leaves behind. A person without accountability cannot be trusted with leadership, because they will always protect their pride over their people. They cannot be trusted with love, because they will always protect their ego over the relationship. They cannot be trusted with opportunity, because they will always protect their image over the mission. Without accountability, there is no foundation to build on. Everything will eventually crumble. What makes this sign even more destructive is the mask it wears. Those who refuse accountability often appear confident, strong, even untouchable. But true strength is never about deflecting blame. True strength is about owning it. When someone constantly denies responsibility, what you are really seeing is weakness disguised as power. It is fear dressed up as pride. And fear-based pride is the root of every toxic cycle, because the more someone avoids the truth, the deeper they sink into denial and the more destruction they cause to everyone around them. The most powerful decision you can make is to stop excusing this behavior. Too often people stay in relationships or environments with those who refuse accountability, telling themselves it will change. But accountability is not something you can force on someone. It is a choice they must make, and many never will. The moment you realize this, you stop wasting time waiting for them to become someone they are not. You accept the truth for what it is. A person who refuses accountability is telling you exactly who they are. Believe them. Staying alert to this sign gives you the gift of clarity. It allows you to recognize when someone's words do not match their actions, when apologies are replaced with excuses, and when promises are replaced with blame. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And that clarity will save you from years of frustration, disappointment, and betrayal. Because the absence of accountability today will become the collapse of trust tomorrow. But awareness is not only about others, it is about yourself as well. The most powerful people are those who hold themselves accountable before anyone else does. They do not run from mistakes, they learn from them. They do not hide from failure, they grow from it. They do not shift blame, they take ownership and move forward. This is the path to real strength. Accountability sharpens character, builds respect, and creates unstoppable momentum. Every time you choose accountability, you choose growth over ego, truth over denial, and strength over weakness. The reward of staying alert to this sign is freedom from illusion. You no longer waste years tied to people who cannot face the truth. You no longer sacrifice your peace to protect someone else's pride. Instead, you build your life on foundations of honesty, integrity, and trust. And that kind of life cannot be shaken because it is rooted in truth. Remember this, someone who refuses accountability is already showing you the future. They are showing you that when things go wrong, you will carry the blame. They are showing you that when challenges arise, you will carry the weight. They are showing you that when truth is needed, they will disappear into denial. Believe what they show you. Protect yourself and surround yourself with people who value truth over ego, growth over pride, and accountability over excuses, because those are the people who will never let you down when it matters most. There is another danger that hides in plain sight, often cloaked under the illusion of normality, yet it carries the power to slowly suffocate the human spirit. It is the sign of apathy, when a person stops caring, when their fire for life dims, and their soul begins to shrink under the weight of indifference. Apathy is not loud like anger, it does not scream like aggression, it whispers quietly until it convinces you that nothing is worth the effort, nothing is worth the fight, and nothing truly matters. That quiet erosion of drive, passion, and purpose is more destructive than open hostility because it kills not from the outside, but from within. When someone stops caring, they stop growing, they stop striving, they stop fighting for their dreams, their relationships, their potential. They allow life to push them wherever the current flows, like a leaf drifting on water with no control over its destination. This loss of agency is dangerous because the moment you stop steering your life, you hand over the wheel to circumstances, to other people, or worse, to nothingness itself. And nothingness has no mercy. It swallows ambition, it suffocates creativity, it makes a person alive only in body, but dead in spirit. Apathy creates emptiness, and emptiness attracts destruction. Studies in psychology reveal that when people feel they have no purpose, they spiral into hopelessness, depression, or destructive habits. The absence of passion leaves a void, and human beings naturally fill voids with distractions, addictions, or toxic attachments. That's why apathy is so dangerous. It opens the door to self-sabotage and convinces you it doesn't matter. When you no longer care about your health, you stop protecting it. When you no longer care about your relationships, you stop nurturing them. When you no longer care about your dreams, they die quietly in the corner of your mind without even a fight. And yet, apathy rarely comes all at once. It begins subtly. It begins when you say, "I'll try tomorrow." It begins when you stop celebrating small wins. It begins when you convince yourself that the effort is too much for the reward. Little by little, apathy strips away your resilience, your hunger, your identity. Until one day, you wake up and realize you're only existing, not truly living. That is the slowest and most dangerous death, being alive without feeling alive. But here is the truth that cannot be ignored. Apathy is a choice, and like any choice, it can be reversed. The fire inside you may seem weak, but fire never fully dies unless you let it. Even in the deepest ashes, a spark remains. That spark is your ability to decide, to shift, to rise. Neuroscience proves that action can reignite motivation. Movement creates momentum, and momentum breaks the chains of apathy. Something as small as committing to one meaningful task a day can awaken the soul that apathy has tried to silence. If you've ever felt the heavy grip of apathy, if you've ever lost interest in the things that once set your soul on fire, then understand this: it is not the end. It is a test. Apathy is the mind's attempt to shield itself from pain, but in doing so, it shields you from life itself. To overcome it, you must reclaim passion deliberately, even if it feels forced at first. Pick up the book, go on the walk, call the friend, set the goal. Passion doesn't wait for you. You create it by showing up again and again. The most dangerous sign in a person is not always the loud, destructive ones. It's often the silent surrender to apathy. Because once you stop caring, once you stop believing in better, life itself begins to fade. And if you notice this sign in someone else, take it seriously. Apathy is contagious, and being around it too long can dim your own light. Protect your energy, protect your drive, and surround yourself with those who refuse to settle for an existence without meaning. Every person was born with a fire inside, and that fire is not meant to die out quietly. It is meant to grow, to light the path, to inspire others along the way. Let apathy be the warning sign, not the end point. Because the truth is this: you only lose when you stop caring, and the moment you care again, the moment you decide to fight for your purpose, apathy loses its grip. And in that moment, you reclaim not just your drive, but your life